Okay, so welcome folks. I'm going to go ahead and start this session. So we're here to talk about basically to do an orientation to what it looks like under the hood working with a WordPress website. And I'm not going to try to actually do a training on how to build a WordPress website. I'm going to assume for our purposes here that that you're going to be going in and modifying an existing site, building one from scratch. There's some additional things that you would need to know, but I think this will get us a good solid start. WordPress sites, once you're used to how they look are not difficult to work with. If you're adding in plugins and themes, sometimes they can get a little bit tricky, but the basic process is pretty straightforward. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to use an actual website. This is the website for our Startup Investment and Community Capital Expo, and it is a website that is live, and it is being modified possibly literally as we speak. I was in here about an hour ago, and this homepage looks different than it did an hour ago. So we may see some things change as we go. Okay, so this is the website. I'm on the homepage of the website. And if I want to go under the hood in WordPress, what I do is append to the end of the name of the website, WP-admin. I hit return, and it took me straight in because I'm already signed into the site. Normally it would take you to a sign in, and so you've got to have sign in credentials to get under the hood. I'll come back to that when I talk about users down the road. So when you first get in here, what you see is, excuse me a second, I'm going to rearrange my screens just a little bit. Okay. What you see is this dashboard. And there's always some messages at the top, which are essentially irrelevant messages. I can get rid of those. And then it's got this Elementor overview. I'll explain Elementor in a moment and some other things. But the most important thing we want to look at is this list down the side, because that's what we're going to be working with. There's home. That brings us basically to where we are now. Updates, I'll explain those when we've gotten further along. Then posts, WordPress's origins. When WordPress started, it was for doing blogs. It was originally created to create blogs, and the blogs are still in the DNA of WordPress, although it is now mostly used for creating websites. It is, I believe, the largest website creation set of software out there. At one point, something like close to half of the sites existing were created in WordPress. So it's a good thing to know. It's very, very powerful, largely because of all the plugin software that has been created for WordPress. Okay, so there's posts, then there's media, links, pages. I'm going to go through most of these, but we're going to focus on a few of them. Pages is a key one we're going to focus on, and that's the place for us to start. So I just clicked on pages, and that takes us to a list of all the different pages that are in this website. Now, first thing I'd note, I'm going to open up another tab, and I'm going to go back to just a regular view of the site. So this is just our regular view. And this site, in terms of what's in navigation now, there are really only 4 pages. This home page, there's an apply to pitch page, an attend page for attendees, and a sponsor page. Those are the only ones that are in navigation, but you can see there are many more that actually exist but are not currently in navigation. Some of these are under development, some of them are mothballed for a while. But we'll take a look at those. So in each page, if I go to the, looking for the home page, home, there it is. It's a page that here is called home. And when I hover over it, you'll notice it gives me a few different choices. It says edit, quick edit, trash. Don't trash it, be careful. I don't want to do away with my home page. View, just to look at the page, and edit with Elementor. Now, when you're in a WordPress website, there's going to be an editor that you're going to use to turn it into basically a drag and drop website. The editor we're using for this site is Elementor. We use this with most of our sites, essentially all of our sites, except we got a couple of legacy ones that are using a different editor. Something to be careful of. Notice it says edit with Elementor, and that is the plugin editor that's being used here. And then there's another edit. That edit will take you to the WordPress editor. WordPress has its own inherent editor, which I'm not very familiar with because we use Elementor and secondarily WP Bakery. What you do not want to do is edit a page with 2 different editors. Each editor has its own way of creating code. What all of these editors do when you do a drag and drop or put some content into a page, the editor translates that content into the code that actually creates the page. Different editors translate the code differently. If you use a different editor on a page, it will either put a bunch of weird looking code in the page, which is usually what it'll do, or it'll break the site. That is, it'll make the site not work. So be careful of that. Quick edit, I want to show really quickly. If you click on quick edit, it gives me access to a couple of different things. One is the title or the name of the page. And that title will show up in the top left corner of the page unless you suppress it. And on this site, we have the title suppressed, I think, on all the pages. Then it has this thing called the slug. Elementor 43 is what it says for the slug. Now, this is the main page. It has no parent. I'll look at another page in a moment to make another point that I want. Then it has a date. That date is pretty irrelevant. Don't have to worry about it. It has who the original author or creator of the page was. You can change that person to anybody who is a user of the page. I'm going to leave it as the admin. Anjika Granager is my main website designer. It says if the page has a parent. It talks about what template's being used for the page, and it says whether it's published or whether it's still a draft. Now, I'm going to cancel out of here, and I'm going to pick a different page. Let me go to the attend page up here, and I'm going to go into quick edit. The title of the page is attend, and the slug is attend. The slug is a weird name, but I'm going to switch over to the actual website, and I'm going to click on the attend, and we're going to go to the attend page. And I want you to notice that up in navigation, notice that the URL for this page is the URL for the website / the slug name with another / after it. So that slug is going to tell you what the URL link is going to be for that specific page that will get appended to the website.
Brad,
Yes.
I'm not sure if it's just me. I keep seeing only the dashboard page. I don't know if it's because I'm on a mobile screen, but is it just?
I concur. I concur with that. I was about
Oh,
to.
sorry.
Yeah, we missed all that.
Yeah.
I was just not sure if it was me. So
Oh.
Yeah, I wasn't sure too.
Okay, let me reshare. I know what the problem is.
and it's pretty good stuff. So I don't know. I'm willing to stay longer if you want to recap that because yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, exactly. That's better.
Okay, so now you're looking at my actual page. I know
Yes.
exactly what happened when I reorganized my screens. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, so so we're in, actually, we could probably go from here because we're in quick edit. Actually, let me back out of there so you can see what I'm doing. So for the attend page, underneath it, when I hover over attend, it gives me edit, quick edit, trash, don't trash it, view, and edit with Elementor. So edit, that's going to lead me to the WordPress editor. That's why I said I don't want to do that because this page has been built with Elementor. So if I edit it, I always want to edit it with Elementor. But where I had gone into was quick edit. Quick edit just shows you, there's the title, there's the slug. And as I said, the slug becomes the name of that page that's appended to the URL that takes you directly to that page. Now, here's something you have to be careful of. If I change that slug name, it's going to change the name of this page here. So if I change the slug name to attendees, I don't know why I would do that, but if I did, then it would change this URL to siccmonterey.com/attendees. And any links I put out in the world that linked people to this page would suddenly be broken links. So be careful of that. You can change the title of the page, that's not a problem, but don't change the slug unless you're sure that it's going to work okay. And there's the date, the admin, etc. So I'm going to cancel out of quick edit. And I'm going to go into edit with Elementor. Now what you're going to see now, once it loads, here's the page, and here's my kind of resources for editing the page. The page is divided into sections. Notice as I hover over this, there's this little blue sort of tab that shows up, because that defines a section of the page. It's outlined in blue here that is one grouped set of elements that I can go in and edit. And so if I want to edit this part here where it says investors and meet the most innovative emerging companies in the region, if I click on the pencil, notice that over on the left here, now it's taken me into the content, so I can edit the content. If I want the lettering to show up differently, I can go into style and change the typography. And I can change the weight, which is how bold it is. I can transform the text into uppercase or all the text into lowercase or capitalize, etc. I can change the style to italic or oblique. I can make all, and there are other changes I can make. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time in the editor. This is how the Elementor editor works. Different editors are going to have a different look and feel. My experience in being in different editors is it's very disorienting at first, but most of them are pretty intuitive. You can figure out with a little bit of experimentation how you can edit the page. Now, if we make a change, and I'm going to make a minor change here, which I will reverse. So I'm going to go back to content and meet the most innovative emerging companies in the, suppose I wanted to say Monterey Bay region instead of just region. Okay, so I edited it over here. You can see it made the change over there. Mostly what I want to point out, and this is going to be true in all editors, at least that I've been in, there's now this little update somewhere on your page is going to be an update button. If I leave this page without clicking update, all the work I did will be lost. None of the editors that I've seen actually save your changes as you're making them. And that's probably a deliberate design choice, because you might make a bunch of changes and say, I don't like those changes. And then rather than having to reverse them all, you can just exit the page and cancel the changes. But remember to make the update. So I'm going to remove region just to go back to the original wording. Now it still says update because it's detected that I've made changes on the page. And actually there's one other thing I should show in terms of technique. Let me put Monterey Bay back in. Now if I click update, it's going to take a moment and update the page. You'll notice now that the update is not lit, so I know that it's fully updated. If I go back to, and typically if I'm editing a site, I have the editor open and then I have an instance of the site that's outside of the editor open, so I can go back and look. So I'm going to go back to the home page and oh, wait a minute, which page were we on? Oh, we were on the attend page, weren't we? Sorry. And now you can see that the change I made where it says Monterey Bay is now on the page. If you flip back and forth, it allows you to check periodically what your changes actually look like, because sometimes they don't render perfectly in whatever viewport your editor is giving you. Okay, so that's a page and the notion of editing a page, and I'm going to hit update. I can, with Elementor, if I want to add another button in here, I can just grab, let's see, button. I can just drag and drop and put a new, whoops, I didn't like that. Give me a place. I'll stick the button there. Okay, so I just put a new button in here, and then I can edit that button to say whatever I want it to say and link it to wherever, etc. And if I decide I don't like that button, I just right click and say delete, and it's gone. So that's why I say this is a drag and drop editor. If I want to make another text box here, I can grab text editor, and you can see it lights up where it's going to drop my box. And now I can put new text here. So all editors are going to work something like this, although they're also all going to look a little bit different. Any questions about sort of the basics of going inside a page and editing the page? Then I'm going to back out to our master menu, exit to dashboard. I'm just going to leave because I don't want any of the changes I just made to be kept. I'm going to click on pages again so we can see all of the pages. Just takes a moment to respond. Okay, and then now I'm back to my list of pages. Now let me move from pages, a logical next place to go. Actually, one piece before that, if I want to create a new page, in the way this is set up, I can go up to the top, and if I hover over new, it lets me create a new post, new media, a new link, or a new page. If I click on page, it's going to set up a new page, which I give a title, new test page. And I want to build this page with Elementor, so I'm going to click on Edit with Elementor. And now it takes me inside that page. And now I can start building the page. And how exactly I do that is dependent upon the particular editor. But we can add pages. And now if I, by the way, just noting that down below here, there's a publish button. Where it was an update button before, now it's published because I've created this page, but I haven't published it, which means it's not accessible to the outside world at all yet. If I click on publish, then it will be accessible to the outside world, but it won't be in navigation. This is just an independent page. And if I go back to the dashboard, and pull up my list of pages again. Notice now we have a page called New Test Page. I'm going to go into Quick Edit. Notice that it automatically made the slug New Test Page. I can change the name of that slug if I want. I know there are no links to it, so I don't have to worry about breaking any links. I can change the title, etc. And status is published. If I make a change, if I change the slug from new test page to new test page 2, suppose I want to change this to new test page 2, then I need to update it. I always need to update, and now my new test page is new test page 2. But I don't actually want this page, so I'm going to trash it. Boom, it's gone.
It's gone.
And note that it didn't ask me to confirm, so be careful with that trash button. You do not want to blow away a page that you wanted. Now, from here, from pages, let me go down to an important button called Appearance. And there are several things in here that we want to look at. The most important is Menus. So I'm going to click on Menus. So this menu is the main menu in navigation. I'm going to switch to the regular instance. So apply to pitch, attend, and sponsor. Those are in the main menu, and you can see apply to pitch, attend, and sponsor are here. If I want to take this page over here has got a list of all the different pages that are available. If I want to put company page into navigation, I click on it, I click on add to menu, and boom, it is now in navigation. If I save this menu, hopefully Anjika isn't in here working, she'll have a heart attack if she is. And now I'm going to refresh this page. And if all goes according to plan, we now have company page in our main menu. Or if I want company page to be under attend, for example, I don't know why I would, but if I did, because you want subpages sometimes, I can just drag it, and if I indent it, it will be a subpage of attend. If I don't indent it, it will be its own page. And you can do infinite indentation. So if I wanted to make sponsor a subpage of company page, I can do that to it. So let me leave it this way. So company page now is a subpage of attend. I'm going to save that menu. I'm going to go back to the other and do a refresh of this page. And now notice that attend has a subpage called company page. So that's how you put something into navigation. Now I got to back out of this. I actually don't want company page in here. So I'm going to hit remove. This doesn't do anything to the page itself. It just takes it out of navigation. Save that menu. And okay, so that's menus. Also under here is header. If you want to edit the header for each page, you can't do that directly on the page. You've got to go into header to edit that. It's also got widgets. Let's take a quick look at widgets, because if you want to have a sidebar, let me go back to the original site. This site has a right sidebar that lists the sponsors. And so if I go over here, there's the default sidebar, which is that right sidebar. And it's all of those logos are put in there with custom HTML. Setting up a sidebar, you may need to do some customization, not necessarily, but that's where you would build a sidebar. You notice that there are other widgets available. You can put a calendar in there. You can embed images. You can create a gallery. There's a whole host of things that are available in the widgets menu. Menus we did, header we talked about, install plugins. Let's next go to plugins. By the way, anybody's got any questions, feel free to jump in. I'm just trying to go fairly quickly here through this. Okay, I clicked on plugins. Plugins are sort of sub-programs that create either different looks in your website or create capabilities, functionality in your website. If you want to create a WordPress website that's going to have e-commerce capability, you would need to put a plugin in there that will create a shopping cart. And there are many different plugins available. We use WooCommerce is the one that we've used, and I think it's the most popular of the e-commerce plugins. This site does not have WooCommerce in it because it's not set up for e-commerce. There's a whole list of these plugins. Elementor, that's the editor. Elementor Button Plus is creates a button widget. Elementor Pro is an advanced version of Elementor that gives us some other capabilities. Then there's essential add-ons for Elementor. You can see how this works. Google Analytics is a plugin. It's a free plugin that I would recommend that all sites have some version of this. This one's really easy to use. This allows you to connect the site to Google Analytics. So you can use Google Analytics to look at how the site's working. That should be a standard piece of every site. Gutenberg is in here. That's the WordPress editor, the WordPress block editor. You'll notice it says activate. It's actually not activated currently. We could delete it, but I'm not going to delete it without checking with Angela and make sure that we don't need it at some point. Limit login attempts. This is some anti-spam things. It it stops people from doing a million attempts at logging in. Redirection is another plugin that I recommend that all websites have. Redirection, if you change a page, if you change the URL of a page, redirection will track that and will figure out what the new name of the page is and will automatically redirect people to that site. It helps to keep you from having broken links in your site, which is really important. So and it's a free plugin. I highly recommend that all sites have that. And then the other ones are what they are. Now, there's another. Okay, let me go from here to media. I'm going to click on media. That brings up the media library. These are all the images that are being used in the site. A few things about these images. First of all, to add an image, you just drag the name of an image. Let's see if I can grab one really quickly. So I gotta have an image there. Communication tools new .png. So I'm gonna drop that. I just dragged over from another menu, and you can see it uploaded that image in here. Boy, this is an old, out-of-date image, but that's okay. I clicked on the image. Now, something really important. You want to make sure that every image has alternative text. And this is a diagram of marketing tools. And I should say it's a diagram of marketing tools that's out of date. The reason you need to have alternate text, this makes the site more accessible. If somebody who is sight impaired clicks on that image or is having a program read the page to them, when it hits that image, it's going to say a diagram of marketing tools. So it's important for accessibility. It also is important to search engine optimization. Google dings your site. Google penalizes your site in search engine optimization if you don't have alternate text for all of your images. One other thing I'd point out about images, the file size of this image is 134 kilobytes, which is fine. The image sizes should be definitely less than a megabyte, and preferably, I like to keep them in the 100 or even smaller kilobyte range. The bigger the image is, the slower the page will load, and you want your pages to load as fast as possible. Okay, I don't want this in the site, so I'm going to delete it permanently. So anyhow, so there's all the different images that have been used in the site. And you can see this builds up over time in the site. So if you've got a customer, a client who's got a site and they've already got images loaded in the site, you want to take a look at those images and make sure they haven't loaded raw, 5 megabyte or 16 megabyte images in there, because that's really going to slow down their site. If that's the case, what you want to do is download the image and use something like Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop to compress the image down to a reasonable size. Okay, so if I'm in a page and let me try the attend page. Oh, that wasn't exactly what I wanted to do, just because it's going to take me 2 steps. So I'm going to go into the attend page. In a moment, come on, attend page. Now it's coming up. And so there's this image here of Craig Vachon speaking. If I click on the pencil, that gives me access, and I can click on his image and I can change him into a picture of David Apgar, for example. And you can see here's this image of Craig Vachon. It's been compressed down to 43 kilobytes. It does not have alt text. So I'm going to put in alt text of Craig. Fortunately, I know who it is. And now I'm going to click on insert media. So I actually just fixed something that needed to be fixed on the site. Okay. I'm going to go back to the dashboard. Whoops. Fortunately, it told me I made that change and I didn't update the page. So now it's updating. Elementor is good about reminding you if you tried to do that, do what I just tried to do. So we talked about media. We've done appearance, which is where widgets and menus are, and the header if you want to install the, if you want to edit the header. There's install plugins. If you want to add another plugin, you click on install plugins, and it will give you the ability to upload new plugins. It looks like there are a couple, that it's recommending to install. I'm not going to go through how to install a plugin in this session. Whoop, magic mouse got magic. Now I want to come down. We looked at plugins. Let's look at users. This will be important if you're working with a client. They need to give you access to their site. If you want to add or delete users, this is where you do it. And it's a very simple process. So users up at the top here, it says add new. If I click on that, I can give somebody else access to the site. I can give them different types of access. Anjika has access as an administrator. I have access as an administrator. Lynette does, but Selena is only an editor. So there are certain things that she cannot do that Anjika and Lynette and I can do. When you create a new user, it will send them an email link and they'll click on that link to get signed into the site initially. Tools down here, you probably won't make much use of these tools. It allows you to import things into the site. It allows you to export content from the site. There's a measure of site health. It's not particularly detailed. You might better use external tools. Personal data, I'm not even sure what personal data refers to. The redirect tool is down here also. Although we have it set up, and you can see, remember when I renamed new test page to new test page 2? It's showing up here. So now if somebody tries to go to new test page, they're automatically going to get redirected to the renamed version, new test page 2. But since I deleted that page, I'm going to delete that redirection. I don't need it. But you can see there's some other things that we've changed. 2019, so we've updated this site from the old 2019 site. Okay. Tools, redirection, settings. Settings you may or may not need to do a lot with. You can change the site title. You can change the tagline, which I think becomes accessible. We don't do very much with the site line and tagline, but you might in some cases. There's the site address, where it's found, and it has a WordPress address, unless you're building this literally inside of the WordPress site itself, where it would have WordPress appended to it. These two are going to be the same. The email address for the administrator, that's Anjika. If you create a new user, they default to be a subscriber. You can change that default, but we've got it set to the lowest. Site language is English. Time zone. I don't know why we have UTC +0. It should be UT. I'm not going to change that right now. Date format, time format, etc. What do I need to look at here? Links. Probably not going to do much with the links here, except pretty much ignore them. Oh, comments is an interesting one. If people leave comments on your site, if there's the ability to leave comments on the site, they'll get listed in here. And I probably shouldn't have done this, but this morning I went in and there were a few, not a huge number, but a few comments that had been submitted at the site that were spam comments. I think one of them was from Marilyn Monroe, and it said something about Marilyn Monroe is cute. So sites are being hit by hackers all the time. We screwed up on developing a site some years ago and left it open to some Russian hackers who got in there and dumped something like 50,000 spam comments into the site. And we actually ended up having to trash that site and rebuild it. So make sure you have anti-spam stuff installed. Okay, so that's the basics of being under the hood in WordPress. You can usually figure out what you need to figure out by searching around in there. You all know that Google is your friend. If you need to know how to do something, if you Google it, somebody's going to have some pretty good instructions for it. So Google is, as always, your friend. What questions might you have? Anything else you'd like me to cover here?
Is it free to just download or to sign up for WordPress and just mess around with it?
Yeah, if you go to wordpress.com, you can set up a free account and a free website in there. It'll have I think the site name will be www. whatever name you want to give it. If you wanted to make an Ashley site, you might name it Ashley, in which case it's going to be www.ashley.wordpress.com. And you can go in there and fool around. Boy, I haven't fooled around actually inside of WordPress itself for a long time. But there are lots of free plugins if you want to practice throwing plugins in and see what they do. Yeah, absolutely. Go to wordpress.com.
Okay, thank you.
And by the way, all of you, if you get stuck, you're welcome to reach out to me, on Slack or through email. And if I can't answer the question, which is quite possible, I'm pretty amateur. I hire professionals to do most of the website work, although I spend a lot of time inside them. But I have a website designer who can answer the question if I can't. Any other questions at this point? If not, I will turn you all loose. I encourage you to do what Ashley was just talking about, which is create a WordPress account and go in there and fool around on it and get used to it. And other than that, I think that's the end of our quick session here. Thank you all for attending. You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. See you all soon.
Have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too.